Hello everyone, welcome to another amazing video. If you enjoy the content, I ask that you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the upcoming parts and new videos. Now, without further ado, let's get into today's video. Are you ready? Let's go.
In a small town in the mountains known as Baiji, a duel was about to take place. Many people were there to witness this duel. Suddenly, a group of people arrives, climbing the stairs. What appears to be their leader is at the front of the group, called Pavilion Wind. This man thinks that he has finally reached the point he wanted, and when he wins the duel, he will be able to join the strongest sect of the league. He has a memory of some tragedy that happened in his life, with several people dead on the ground. But he thinks again that now the truth is very close to him. Another person is standing in the middle of the arena. This person is called Hong. He is the leader of the Hongmen clan. Hong asks which of them is the challenger and asks him to come forward. The leader of the Pavilion Wind sect steps forward and introduces himself, saying that he is the master of the Pavilion Wind sect and his name is Ling Xiao. One of the members of his sect is angry that Hong does not know them, but the girl next to him asks him to keep his composure. The audience is surprised to hear the name Ling Xiao. A man in the middle of the audience tells his friend that this Ling Xiao is the new spiritual master who suddenly appeared and many sects were defeated by him. Ling Xiao does not want to waste any more time and announces to Master Hong that he will no longer beat around the bush and will start. He begins to release his energy and summon his spiritual beast. A lot of smoke begins to rise and suddenly a huge shadow covers the arena. The audience is in awe of what they see, wondering how he managed to develop and cultivate such a powerful spiritual beast. His spiritual beast is a whale, classified as the first. Its name was Kun, the aquatic giant. Hong looks at all this and says that the Pavilion Wind sect are fish farmers and that they probably have some skills. That same member of the Pavilion Wind sect gets angry again for Hong having called them fish farmers. Hong prepares himself and says he will show something interesting. Suddenly, a giant hand hits the ground, causing destruction in the arena. Hong's spiritual beast is a giant monkey called Suna, classified as the first type of walking beast, Sky Ape. Then, the battle begins and the two spiritual beasts begin to fight. The audience thinks that the leader of the Hong clan is better. After all, it is an A-class sect. The girl from the Pavilion Wind sect asks if everything will be okay, and the other boy tells her not to worry, as the conditions for the beast's evolution have been met. The girl is shocked by this, asking if this is really true. Ling Xiao begins to concentrate his energy and says that he is a good person, and how dare he challenge Master Hong. He is naturally somewhat confident. Ling Xiao says that this trump card was prepared for this duel against Hong. Suddenly, an intense light comes out of Ling Xiao and goes straight to his spiritual beast. The whale begins to release a lot of smoke and its eyes are already different. It begins to emerge from the smoke and, as we can see, it is much larger and terrifying. It attacks the monkey with a bite and the monkey screams in pain as it is bitten. Hong is shocked by what he is seeing. He shouts, saying that Ling Xiao has evolved his spiritual beast to the entry state and wonders how this is possible. The audience, seeing that Ling Xiao's beast is in the entry state, panics, as it is the first time for many there to see a beast of this level. Other people ask who this Ling Xiao is and say that the outcome of the duel is already decided. That same boy from the Pavilion Wind sect boasts that now everyone knows what the Pavilion Wind sect is capable of, and another member says that Ling Xiao is worthy of being the leader of the sect. But something unexpected happens. A crack in the whale's skin appears. The girl realizes that something is wrong. The whale's skin continues to show cracks more and more. Ling Xiao does not understand what is happening, and now the entire skin of the whale is cracked. It begins to lose its skin, and its flesh starts to appear. Its eyes, from blue, turn yellow, and after losing almost all its skin, it turns into a colossal zombie monster that even the monkey panics. Ling Xiao wonders if the evolution failed and what went wrong, as his whale turned into a zombie monster. The whale turns and heads towards the audience, and without mercy, begins to kill everyone there. Ling Xiao tries to control it with his energy, but it is of no use. It turns its attention to Ling Xiao, who continues trying to control it. The whale is getting closer and closer to Ling Xiao, and when it is in front of him, the girl screams for him to be careful. Ling Xiao thinks that this monster is completely out of his control. The whale opens its mouth to attack, and at that moment Ling Xiao wonders if he is going to die there in that way, after working so hard for so long and being one step away from the truth. He thinks he is not willing to give up, however. His life ended there, at that moment. Suddenly, in a beautiful place with trees and mountains, a person wakes up under a tree. He scratches his head, somewhat confused, looks at his hands, and wonders how he ended up in that place. He sees a stream nearby and decides to go wash his face and drink some water, but the moment he looks at the water and sees his reflection, he is startled and spits out all the water in his mouth. As we can see, this person is Ling Xiao. He wonders who this person is and how he became her, but first of all he decides to calm down. He thinks and concludes that this must be the effect of the skill, Seize the Body and Nirvana. To be safe, the whale learned the skill, Seize the Body and Nirvana. The skill consists of, when the master of the spiritual beast dies, he reincarnates randomly after a year. When the master of the spiritual beast dies, Nirvana will be activated automatically. After a year of keeping the master's soul, he will randomly occupy another person's body and be reborn. Ling Xiao realizes that he has taken over this person's body and resurrected her, but he is sad to realize that he has been dead for a year. Ling Xiao is angry because he was very close to putting his sect in the upper league. The truth could have been discovered, and now all his efforts have been wasted. He is also frustrated because his pet whale was sacrificed when the Nirvana body swap was activated, and now he has to retrain a new spiritual beast. Even though he has survived, he is now back to square one, and for him, this is very disturbing. Ling Xiao wonders what really happened. He had checked the evolution condition, and once again, there was not even a slight miscalculation. So why did the evolution fail? Why did the whale turn into a zombie? Did someone interfere with the evolution? If so, who was it? No one else knew the secret of the whale. Ling Xiao thinks about who the current owner of his new body is, and what he was doing to be there at that moment. He has many questions. Suddenly, Ling Xiao hears several people running nearby. He turns to see what it was. The people who were running begin to scream that there is a person right there in front and that they should check. As they get close to Ling Xiao, one of the guys in the group informs everyone that he had found him and that everyone should go there quickly. The others start to arrive from behind the bushes. Ling Xiao thinks that everyone there must be the guards of the Bai residence. Ling Xiao realizes that their clothes are familiar to him. He continues thinking and concludes that the group really are guards of the Bai residence. Bai is a sect of the Second League. Ling Xiao greets them and takes the opportunity to ask about the situation. Ling Xiao says that everyone there seems to be very anxious and asks if they are looking for something. The same guard who found Ling Xiao starts yelling, telling Ling Xiao to stop pretending. The guard calls Ling Xiao Fengmeng and a pervert and asks where he hid the ladies. Ling Xiao is shocked, wondering why they are calling him a pervert and which ladies they are talking about. Ling Xiao stretches out his arms, shouting for them to wait, as there must be a misunderstanding. He pleads for them to listen, but the guard asks Ling Xiao to stop talking, as he is a cunning pervert, so they must kill him quickly. The guard lunges at Ling Xiao, but he manages to dodge at the last second. He supports himself on his arm as he moves away from the guard. Ling Xiao thinks this is bad, as there isn't enough time for him to explain himself. He sees that there are only a few guards, so he can easily deal with them. Ling Xiao begins to conjure a spell to release his beast. He tells everyone to prepare for what is coming. The guards are worried, as Ling Xiao is going to release his spiritual beast. The guard tells everyone to be careful. Ling Xiao thinks he is lucky, as the owner of his current body is also a spiritual master, and he has 2 spiritual beasts, although Ling Xiao does not know what kind of beasts they are, but it shouldn't be a problem to command them. Ling Xiao stretches out his hand confidently that it won't be difficult to defeat the guards with the beasts. Ling Xiao shouts for the beast to come out. When the beast begins to emerge, Ling Xiao looks at it and thinks that judging by its shape it doesn't seem bad, and judging by the shadow it seems to be a fierce beast. The guards back off a bit and prepare, but the beast that Ling Xiao summoned is just a small puppy. Ling Xiao is dumbfounded, wondering what the hell this is. The puppy runs towards Ling Xiao, who asks why the dog is running in his direction. But when the puppy reaches Ling Xiao, it grabs onto his leg and starts doing indecent things. Ling Xiao thinks that the previous owners of his current body not only are perverts but their spiritual beast is too. Ling Xiao finds this very embarrassing. The guards are dumbfounded by what is happening. The guard grabs his sword and shouts that there is nothing to fear, and says it will be easy to finish him off together. But at that moment, Ling Xiao remembers that he has another spiritual beast and decides to summon it as well. The beast appears, however. It is a normal vine-type beast. Ling Xiao asks the vine beast to attack, which it obeys and uses its vine arms to attack. The vine beast wraps around the girl suggestively, which makes the other guards blush. One of the guards shouts at the protagonist, calling him a pervert. Ling Xiao puts his hand on his head and says that these beasts are not normal and have been trained the wrong way. Ling Xiao tries not to panic and thinks about how to solve this. He thinks there might be a creative way to use these beasts, so there is still a chance for Ling Xiao. At that moment, someone cuts off the vine beast's arms and throws a stone at the puppy. But seeing this, Ling Xiao realizes that he has no chance at all. Ling Xiao was captured by the guards and tied up with his own vine beast's vines. He sighs as he sits on the ground and thinks that this is crazy, reborn in the body of a pervert with such spiritual beasts. Suddenly the guard shouts, asking Ling Xiao to speak now about where the Bai ladies are. Ling Xiao responds that, as he said before, this is all a misunderstanding. Ling Xiao asks if the guard will listen to his explanation. The guard puts his sword to Ling Xiao's throat and asks him to speak. Suddenly, another guard arrives shouting that they found the pervert's dwelling. A simple house in the middle of the forest. This was the house of the former owner of Ling Xiao's body. The guard asks if that house is really his. Ling Xiao says he thinks maybe. However, the guards didn't wait for Ling Xiao to finish speaking and already knocked down the door of the house. Inside, the guards began to search, while the protagonist just watched. One of the guards tells the captain that they have searched the entire house, but found nothing. Ling Xiao sighs in relief and thinks he is safe now. Suddenly, the guard punches Ling Xiao in the face, asking where the ladies are. Ling Xiao yells at him, saying that the guard is a horrible guy, as Ling Xiao said it was a misunderstanding, and still no one listened to him. He continues saying that if it had really been him, he would have put them in a basement, and asks if his house looked like it had a basement. But at that moment, one of the guards shouts, announcing that they found a basement. Ling Xiao starts to cry, thinking he is an idiot. The leader goes there to check. He opens the basement and there it is, full of girls with cloth in their mouths and tied up. The leader tries to calm them down, saying that they are there to save them. Ling Xiao starts sweating, seeing that there are many girls there, and thinks that the former owner of the body was crazy. The guard jumps in to help the girls. She shouts from inside that they found Miss Bai. The guard takes Miss Bai out and asks if she is okay. All the other guards kneel down, asking if she was okay and apologizing for being late. And the protagonist in the back, not knowing what to do, as he was caught red-handed, so it's over for him. The leader turns to Ling Xiao and asks what else he has to say. The leader takes his sword and says he will end Ling Xiao in the name of justice. Ling Xiao accepts that it is his end and does not say a word. He only thinks that he managed to be reborn, and in less than an hour, he will die again. But suddenly, Bai intervenes. The leader asks what she would like. Bai asks to let Ling Xiao live for now and take him back to the residence. Bai says she has her own arrangements to deal with Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao, hearing this, is scared. At night in Bai's residence, Ling Xiao is chained to a pillar. He thinks about why Miss Bai didn't kill him. She just brought him to the residence and kept him in captivity. She clearly does not want to torture him as revenge. Ling Xiao sighs, as the two beasts he has were defeated, so he cannot summon them until they recover. Ling Xiao thinks that now it is indeed his end. He cannot escape from there. There is nothing he can do to save himself. Suddenly, the door of the captivity opens and the light of the lantern goes straight into Ling Xiao's face. The leader of the guards arrives and says that Miss Bai wants to see him. As they walked through the residence, Ling Xiao asks how they are planning to torture him. Ling Xiao wants to know, as he intends to prepare mentally for it. When they arrive at a gate, the leader says it is right there. Ling Xiao asks where the execution chamber is. The guard informs the protagonist that this is Miss Bai's room and tells Ling Xiao to enter. Ling Xiao asks if it is really her room, but without much ado, he begins to enter the room. Ling Xiao calls Miss Bai, but there were no answers. Ling Xiao wonders why it is so dark there and what she wants to do with him. Suddenly, a match is lit and used to light a candle. Bai is sitting in her chair saying to Ling Xiao that he is finally there and calls him a pervert. Ling Xiao is speechless for a moment, but gathers courage and asks what she wants with him. She asks him if he knows the reason she didn't kill him. Ling Xiao responds saying that probably she is very kind and would give him a chance to redeem himself. But with that, Bai gets furious and asks how a pervert like him dares to drug the water and try to take advantage of her. Ling Xiao responds that he wouldn't dare to do that, and that this is all a misunderstanding. Ling Xiao realizes that Bai really wants revenge. Bai begins to say that she has never suffered something like this since she was born, and Ling Xiao is the first person who made her suffer. Bai begins to conjure her magic and tells Ling Xiao that it will be easy to let him die, but his death will not quench her anger. She intends to keep him forever in her residence and make Ling Xiao a lackey that she can humiliate at any time she wants. Suddenly her spiritual beast appears. It is a big white snake. Ling Xiao raises his hand and says that at the moment he can't, as since childhood he was spoiled and doesn't know how to serve people well. The only things he knows are to eat, sit, and do nothing. He doesn't know how to wash clothes, cook, and also is boring, and for that reason he cannot be a lackey. With that, Bai gets angry and says that she is not negotiating with him. But the protagonist turns with an apprehensive expression and says to Miss Bai that she can find someone else to be her lackey, as he was leaving. Ling Xiao says goodbye and starts to leave. Bai listens to everything in silence, but before Ling Xiao leaves, she asks him who gave him permission to leave. She calls her spiritual beast and orders her beast to teach Ling Xiao a lesson. Suddenly the snake attacks Ling Xiao. He sees the snake approaching, but at the last second he manages to dodge. The snake goes straight and hits the ground with such force that it breaks a part of the floor. The snake called Xiaobai gets up and starts hissing while staring at the protagonist. However, with this attack, Xiaobai bit and cut the vine that was holding Ling Xiao. Bai warns Ling Xiao that if he wants to get out of there, he has to get past Xiaobai. Determined, Ling Xiao begins to unravel the vines from his body. He says that since they can't make a deal, then he will have to put in the effort. He starts to summon his spiritual beasts, but when they appear, they are sleeping with a sign saying, "Not to disturb," as they were off duty. Ling Xiao yells at them, saying that they will die if they keep relaxing. At that moment, the two beasts wake up terrified. Ling Xiao yells that now there is no time for them to fully recover. Now it's win or die. Ling Xiao still doesn't understand the powers of his beasts because he is the new owner of the body, but he asks his beasts to do their best to win. The Onion and the dog are determined. Then, Xiaobai attacks and bites the Onion, which didn't even try to dodge. Ling Xiao is shocked by this, but it's all part of the Onion's plan. It uses its vines to tie up Xiaobai, holds Xiaobai's head, and uses more vines to tie up its entire body, again in a suggestive way that even Xiaobai blushes. The dog starts running towards Xiaobai. It jumps and uses its pea on the eye skill on Xiaobai. With this, Xiaobai is unable to see properly. She falls to the ground disoriented and trembling. Bai is shocked, wondering what kind of techniques these are, and once again calls the protagonist a pervert. Ling Xiao thinks that it was as he thought. None of his beast's techniques are normal. Ling Xiao says that at least it worked well this time. Bai yells that Ling Xiao's beasts were perverted beasts in their infancy. They cannot defeat her white snake that is in the 5th phase of adolescence. Then, Bai decides to show what she is capable of. Suddenly, Xiaobai's eyes begin to shine, and her body starts to emit smoke. Now Xiaobai's body is on fire. This technique is called fire scales, and consists of burning any substance attached to the user's body, generating high heat with scaly friction. With this, Xiaobai manages to burn the vines and free herself from the bindings, while also burning the onion alongside. The dog decides to avenge its friend Onion, but Xiaobai hits the dog with her tail and throws it far away, passing by Ling Xiao and hitting a rock behind him. Now the dog and the onion are out of the battle. The snake looks at Ling Xiao and starts to hiss. Ling Xiao is scared by this. Bai starts to say that Ling Xiao no longer has spiritual beasts, and asks how he will fight now. Then Bai orders Xiaobai to attack. Xiaobai rushes at full speed towards the protagonist, who just stands there in panic. But Ling Xiao manages to hold Xiaobai's mouth. With the impact, he is thrown into a lake. Ling Xiao sinks into the lake and, inside, he thinks that it will be impossible to defeat that snake and wonders what he can do. But suddenly, he turns and sees a small fish swimming nearby. He wonders what that is. From outside the lake, Bai and Xiaobai just wait for Ling Xiao. Bai asks if Ling Xiao died, as she hasn't even played with him for long. Ling Xiao gets up, and Bai is surprised. She starts to say that Ling Xiao is strong and asks him to continue the fight or just give up. Ling Xiao raises his hand and releases his energy. Suddenly, something begins to emerge from the lake. Bai is confused, asking how he had another spiritual beast. A small bright blue fish emerges from the water. Bai, shocked, looks at the fish and realizes that it's just a pond fish. She starts to mock Ling Xiao, saying that he caught a fish in the pond and wants to use it as his spiritual beast. But the protagonist is determined. Bai covers her mouth with her hand and asks Ling Xiao if he knows the story of the catfish. Ling Xiao asks what story that is. Bai says that many years ago, this type of fish was highly popular. This was because the leader of the Pavilion Wind managed to raise it to an invincible colossal whale. But unfortunately, that fish lost control, swallowed and killed its master during the battle that happened a year ago. Since then, it has been called the monster that killed its own master. The Alliance issued an order to slaughter all the remaining fish on the continent, and now these fish are almost extinct. Bai says that her brother secretly kept this fish in the pond, and it may be the last catfish on the entire continent. Furthermore, everyone agreed that only the leader of the Pavilion Wind knew the secret to raising a catfish. No one else could successfully evolve it to become anything more than a useless spiritual fish. Bai puts her hand on her chin and says that she didn't imagine that Ling Xiao would contractually connect with this kind of wild monster that swallowed its own master. She says she feels sorry for him. Ling Xiao responds that there's no way to know if he doesn't try. Bai tires of talking and orders Xiaobai to attack. Ling Xiao yells at his fish that he would leave it to him. The fish flies out and goes straight past Xiaobai. Ling Xiao holds Xiaobai by the mouth, trying not to be swallowed again. The fish continues to fly while Ling Xiao is being attacked. The fish reaches behind Xiaobai and starts to suck on its tail. Bai, seeing that, can't believe what she's seeing. She asks what the fish is doing and if this was some kind of joke. Bai points at Ling Xiao and yells at him that she didn't think he was wise, but she didn't imagine he was so stupid. Bai says she feels insulted to have suffered at the hands of Ling Xiao and calls him annoying. She says she has no more time to play and that he will die now. Ling Xiao is still struggling with Xiaobai and Bai yells at Xiaobai to bite Ling Xiao to death. Xiaobai's fangs begin to pierce Ling Xiao's hand. Ling Xiao turns his face away from the snake's breath. At that moment, Ling Xiao calls his fish and tells it to hurry up. The fish then nods, prepares, and begins to suck the snake's tail in. Bai and Xiaobai are shocked by what the fish is doing. The fish quickly begins to swallow Xiaobai whole, leaving her completely terrified. The fish continues sucking until it swallows the snake completely. Bai is horrified by this and starts to tremble. To relieve itself, the fish burps. Bai falls to her knees on the ground, covers her mouth with her hand, and says that this is impossible. Ling Xiao starts coughing as he calls his fish back. Then, he stores his beast. Ling Xiao, while trying to get out of the lake, tells Miss Bai that she is very arrogant. So, Ling Xiao had no choice but to have the fish swallow Xiaobai. Ling Xiao takes the opportunity to apologize to Bai. As Ling Xiao leaves the lake, he says goodbye to Bai. He jumps over the small wall and leaps away, leaving Bai fallen on the ground and finished. Bai starts to cry, cursing Ling Xiao. Bai clenches her fists and yells, calling the guards. The guards arrive asking what the problem is. Bai points out, saying the pervert is escaping. She asks them to hurry up and bring him back. The leader kneels and tells Miss Bai that they don't have enough time and pleads for her permission to use the spiritual beasts. Bai yells at them, saying they are very inflexible. She asks how they intend to catch up with Ling Xiao without using the spiritual beasts. But at the same moment, the guards summon their beasts to go after Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao at this moment is running through the forest. As he runs, he thinks that, given his current strength level, he is an easy target. but he is lucky to have found and captured a catfish, and, with that, he has a chance to get back to the top again. He continues running, thinking that Bai won't let him escape so easily. Ling Xiao thinks it's better to escape from that place first. The next day, the sky was extremely beautiful. At a nearby station, several people are arriving. The receptionist welcomes the group. The guy says he would like to enter the city and wants to rent a beast that is not too expensive but can provide a comfortable ride. The receptionist asks for a minute for the group and shouts, asking for a spiritual beast that can provide a pleasant ride. At that moment, two guys arrive and start summoning the beast. A giant scorpion with two chairs, a chest, and a lantern appears. The receptionist says that the scorpion has comfortable seats and is able to meet the client's needs. The client tries out the seat and says it's not bad at all. Then, they say goodbye, and the client leaves. Suddenly, Ling Xiao arrives running, asking for a spiritual beast. The receptionist asks what the beast would be used for, whether for personal or commercial use. Ling Xiao, all sweaty and tired, says he wants to go to the Pavilion Wind Sect in the second league. Ling Xiao adds that the sect has a membership agreement with this station, so he asks for a fast beast, as he is in a hurry. The receptionist smiles and says, there's no problem. He just needs the sect's access key, including the movements and the words of the secret code. Ling Xiao coughs to clear his throat and starts dancing, saying, little fish pa pa pa, big fish pa pa pa, pavilion wind mua mua. The receptionist turns white upon seeing this scene. Ling Xiao sees the receptionist's expression and asks why he looks like that and if there's a problem. The receptionist replies that there's nothing wrong, he's just looking for the details. Ling Xiao puts his hand on his forehead and thinks he shouldn't have asked Gu Ling to create the sect's codes, as this is very embarrassing. He remembers Gu Ling saying that the movements were ready. Suddenly, the receptionist interrupts Ling Xiao's thoughts and says that the record does not exist. He asks if Ling Xiao is sure that the movements and codes are correct, and if Ling Xiao wants to try again, but Ling Xiao refuses to do that again. After a while, the receptionist finally finds it. Ling Xiao wastes no time and asks for a supersonic falcon, but if there's no falcon, a shadow beast would be enough. The receptionist apologizes and informs Ling Xiao that the Pavilion Wind Sect does not meet the required level to rent these spiritual beasts. This confuses Ling Xiao, as these spiritual beasts are exclusive to the second league sects. Ling Xiao remembers Bai's words, saying that after the fish swallowed and killed its master a year ago, the Alliance issued an order to slaughter all the other fish, and now they are almost extinct. With this, Ling Xiao is terrified. He thinks that the Pavilion Wind Sect must have suffered a lot after this incident that happened a year ago. Then he realizes that the sect is probably no longer in the second league. Ling Xiao rushes to the receptionist and asks if the Pavilion Wind Sect was demoted, and in which league it is at this moment. The receptionist starts to sweat and stammer. Ling Xiao yells, asking why he is stammering, and asks again in which league the sect is, whether it's in the third or fourth league. The receptionist regrets to say, but the Pavilion Wind Sect was removed from the leagues. This leaves Ling Xiao completely shocked. Back at the Bai residence, the guard is there and informs Bai that they split into 3 groups and searched for Ling Xiao within a radius of 5,000 meters, but were not able to track him. Bai gets so angry that she starts to tremble. She yells at them, calling them trash that can't find one person. She adds, saying that she suffered a lot because of Ling Xiao, and asks the guards if they couldn't help her take revenge. She continues yelling that she can't trust any of them. The guards apologize for their incompetence and ask Bai to forgive them. Suddenly, a strong wind passes and lifts Bai's dress. A huge shadow covers the guards, and a giant bird flies in the sky. The bird looks at them, and the dog that was there starts to tremble with fear. A tall guy with long hair appears flying mounted on the bird. Bai is happy with his return, as that guy is her brother. While Ling Xiao is sitting under a tree with his hand on his forehead, deep in thought, he recalls shouting at the receptionist, asking if the Pavilion Wind Sect had been removed from the leagues within a year and how exactly that happened. The receptionist informs Ling Xiao that he doesn't know about the incident, but shows him a notebook, saying that he can read the record to find out. The record contains the history of the Pavilion Wind Sect. In the 10th month of the 41st year, the challenge was successful, and the sect was promoted to the second league. but in the 5th month of the 42nd year, due to the death of its leader, the Pavilion Wind sect was demoted to the 3rd League. In the 8th month of the 42nd year, the Alliance ordered the extermination of all catfish and the elimination of any potential spiritual beasts belonging to the Pavilion Wind sect, thus the sect was demoted to the 4th League. And in the 2nd month of the 43rd year, a large number of sects committed looting against the Pavilion Wind sect. The sect was heavily impacted during the incident, and the Alliance removed the sect from the leagues. Ling Xiao was devastated, as he hadn't imagined that the sect would deteriorate so quickly after he died. He thinks that he probably focused too much on his self-improvement and neglected the overall strength of the sect. Ling Xiao remembers being very focused on elevating his sect to the higher league as quickly as possible to uncover the truth, and therefore, he couldn't take care of other matters like the overall strength of the sect. Ling Xiao sighs and begins to say that the sect has disappeared and that at the moment their spiritual beasts are in the infancy stage. All his previous efforts were in vain. Back at Bai's residence, Bai is crying to her brother, saying that Ling Xiao not only humiliated her, but also his spiritual beast swallowed Xiao Bai. Bai asks her brother to take revenge for her. Bai's brother is irritated with Ling Xiao and says it's very annoying, as Ling Xiao stole his catfish. Bai starts shouting at her brother for not paying attention to her and calls him stupid. Bai crosses her arms and asks her brother why he didn't give her that spiritual beast if the catfish was so powerful. Her brother responds that it's not true, that fish is very weak. Bai starts shouting, saying it's true that fish swallowed Xiao Bai very easily. Hearing this, her brother thinks about this technique, which is called swallowing, a catfish's class-level technique. The brother continues saying that this technique is not so powerful, as it can only swallow things that don't fight back. With this technique, the fish can swallow things many times larger than itself. The brother starts saying that if Bai had ordered Xiao Bai to resist a little, Ling Xiao wouldn't have succeeded. Bai is shocked at how easy it would have been to escape the fish's suction. Bai's brother sighs and says he had already told Bai to study more about the battle techniques of the beasts, but she didn't care about it. Bai turns red with anger and shouts that Xiao Bai did resist, but her brother tells her to say whatever she wants, as he knows it's a lie. Meanwhile, Ling Xiao is in the same place talking to his fish. The fish makes a sad expression, flies close to Ling Xiao, and gives him a kiss on his face. Ling Xiao pets the fish and asks if his fish, named Puni, is trying to cheer him up and thanks him for that, but asks Puni not to worry. Ling Xiao, with a serious expression, says he won't stop until he avenges the death of his family. He picks up Puni in his hand and says that as long as he has Puni with him, he can recover what he lost. Back at Bai's residence, Bai's brother is saying that anyway, it's proven that the catfish is useless. It's not strong even in the later stages. And there's also the risk of swallowing and killing its own master. Returning to Ling Xiao, the protagonist tells Puni that everyone thought he was useless. They think Puni is a kind of monster and even exterminated his species. But Ling Xiao says he knows exactly how strong Puni is. The brother says there was only one exception, Ling Xiao. The brother is not sure what Ling Xiao did to make the fish turn into a colossal whale, but since he is dead, no one else knows how Ling Xiao did it. On the other hand, Ling Xiao says he knows the whole secret of how to make Puni invincible. The brother starts to leave, and as he leaves, he points out that even if the thief has the fish, he will only have one more rank and will not do anything more. He asks Bai not to worry, because one day he will end Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao tells Puni that he is sure Puni also wants to prove his worth. Ling Xiao says they must rely exclusively on themselves to go from nobody to somebody. Ling Xiao points his finger up and tells Puni that he doesn't blame him for what happened in his past life. But in this life, he asks Puni to promise one thing: swallow everything that comes his way and walk to the top. Ling Xiao returns to the station and thinks he can't go anywhere like this because he doesn't have money. He thinks he should withdraw the sect's funds. Ling Xiao calls the receptionist and says he would like to withdraw the funds from the Vento do Pavilion sect. The receptionist responds to Ling Xiao that there is no problem and goes to get it. He hands Ling Xiao a total of 6 taels of silver and 34 copper coins. Ling Xiao starts to tremble as he holds the coins and wonders what exactly happened to Vento do Pavilion. He thinks that with so little money, he wouldn't have enough to upgrade Puni, so he decides to spend the money wisely. Ling Xiao calls the receptionist again and asks for a beast for a trip. He asks for the cheapest one, and the receptionist nods. Not long after, Ling Xiao was on top of a pig running around. He covers his face in shame for running on top of a pig. Ling Xiao looks at Puni and tells him not to worry because his situation is temporary, and also says that he will upgrade Puni now. Ling Xiao says that for Puni to become stronger, there is a technique that Puni needs to learn first. Then, they arrive at a place with some signs. Ling Xiao decides to head to a city that is just ahead and look for a technique shop. Ling Xiao smiles and asks Puni to look. They finally arrived at the gate of Riley City. It is a very different place, full of beasts and humans everywhere. This place is fantastically fun. There are many types of spiritual beasts that inhabit it. Humans all over the continent are able to connect with spiritual beasts through contracts and thus live together, and even battle with the beasts. Spiritual beasts have become ubiquitous in people's lives. They have become an indispensable component of the world. Upon arrival, Ling Xiao thanks the pig and says goodbye to it, and the pig goes away. Ling Xiao asks Puni what he thinks of that place because it's very lively. Ling Xiao explains that every city has its own amenities for spiritual beasts. Ling Xiao sees a group of people looking at a bulletin board and thinks there are probably important announcements on that board. So, he decides to go there to see. Ling Xiao starts to pass through people to see what's on the board and asks Puni not to stray from him. But what's on the board is an announcement of a highly dangerous spiritual beast. It says there are slaughter orders for the fish that can potentially swallow and kill its master. It is extremely dangerous. Seeing this, Puni and Ling Xiao are shocked, and Ling Xiao quickly hides Puni. Ling Xiao leaves there shaking with shock and says that because of the whale incident a year ago, Puni's species has become sought after by people from all over the continent. So Ling Xiao decides that before they become strong enough, it's better for Puni not to appear in public. Ling Xiao thinks it's better to proceed with the plan to find out how strong Lu Feng's body is. Sometime later, Ling Xiao is at the center of spiritual beasts. There, a beautiful attendant greets him and asks how she can help him. Ling Xiao says his two spiritual beasts are seriously injured. He puts his beasts on the table and asks the attendant to heal them, and also asks for an expert report on the types of his beasts. The attendant calls his spiritual beasts and says she will take care of it. The attendant packs the onion and the dog, hands them over along with a letter, and also apologizes for making Ling Xiao wait. She explains that the two beasts have been treated, and in a few days they will be fully recovered. That letter is the report of the types of their beasts. The attendant asks Ling Xiao to keep this information safe. Ling Xiao takes his beasts and the letter and starts to leave. As he was leaving, the attendant thanks him for coming there and says she hopes to see him again. Ling Xiao thanks her too, and leaves. Ling Xiao takes the reports of his beasts to see what they are like. There are all the details. The first is of the dog. It is a canine spiritual beast. Its subtype is poison. Its current state is the infancy phase, and it is at level 8. Its natural techniques are captured bites. Learned techniques are knockout P, aphrodisiac P, and antidote P. The evolution requirements are blank. As for the onion's report, it says that its type is plant-type spiritual beast, wisterias and vines. Its subtype is blank. It is in the infancy phase, level 7. Its natural techniques are regeneration bonding. The learned techniques are total vine wrap, vine mouth, and vine whip. The evolution requirements are also blank. Ling Xiu, when he saw the reports, realized that they had already learned some techniques and wondered where they learned those techniques and if it was self-invention. Ling Xiao says he didn't expect the teddy to have a poison technique. Ling Xiao thinks this technique is not bad, but both are in their infancy phase. Ling Xiao needs to be quick and evolve them soon, but Ling Xiao thinks and emphasizes that the most important thing now is Puni. Ling Xiao is now at the Spiritual Beast Techniques shop. There, he is greeted by an attendant who asks what technique Ling Xiao would like his beast to learn. Ling Xiao responds to her that he wants to buy the bubbles technique. The attendant asks Ling Xiao to wait a bit while she checks. She takes a scroll and says that there is only one left. It is the last in stock. The price of the technique is 4 taels of silver. Suddenly, a person shouts at the attendant to wait. Ling Xiao and the attendant look back to see who it is. This guy says he will take the last bubbles technique. He offers triple the value and asks the attendant what she thinks. This man is holding a person tied up with a bag over their head. The attendant responds to the man somewhat awkwardly that the last unit has already been sold to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao tells the man that first come, first served. The man is not there to joke around. He starts to summon his beasts and asks if the attendant doesn't want more money and if she knows how to do business. He says his name is Zhue and says he will get what he wants. Zhue points his hand to the ground and a lot of smoke starts to appear. Suddenly a giant lion appears and roars at Ling Xiao. The attendant is scared and runs back, leaving the scroll on the table. Zhue goes to the table and takes the technique. He calls Ling Xiao and says he has two options. Either Ling Xiao gives bubbles to him, or Ling Xiao gives his life. Zhue asks Ling Xiao to choose wisely. Ling Xiao is frustrated and thinks this situation is terrible. He is sure he cannot fight Zhue given his current strength. Ling Xiao wonders if he should just give bubbles to Zhue. But when Zhue turns around and looks at Ling Xiao, he is astonished. Zhue starts to sweat and calls Ling Xiao Liu Feng, which is the former owner of the protagonist's body. Zhue smiles and calls Ling Xiao Brother Liu. Ling Xiao is astonished, not knowing what to say. Meanwhile, the lion is licking Ling Xiao's face. Sometime later, in a restaurant, Ling Xiao and Zhue are eating there. Zhue says it's been a long time since they've seen each other and asks where Liu Feng has been recently. Ling Xiao responds that he hasn't been anywhere, just staying at home. Ling Xiao is so nervous that he chokes while eating. Zhue tells Ling Xiao to eat slowly and asks if Ling Xiao is really that hungry. Zhue asks if Ling Xiao had caught more ladies, but Ling Xiao responds that he hasn't caught anything lately. Even so, Zhue smiles and says he envies Ling Xiao very much. Zhue tells Ling Xiao that he is a genius, as the aphrodisiac pea technique that Liu Feng gave Zhue last time was very useful. Ling Xiao, hearing this, thinks that the aphrodisiac pea technique was really self-invented. Zhue points to the tied-up person next to him and says he will show her to Ling Xiao. As he removed the sack, Zhue says he camped in the Spirit Mountain for more than 10 days, but finally caught this beast. The beast is a humanoid-type Mo sheep. She was all bruised, with scratches all over her body. Zhue caresses the beast's face and says her face and body are very beautiful. He looks at Ling Xiao and asks if he would like to try, but Ling Xiao responds by shouting that it is not necessary. Zhue explains that these types of beasts are extremely popular in Blood Moon, as the clients are bored of young ladies. Now they like humanoid beasts. Zhu starts laughing and saying that if he makes the sheep beast learn the bubbles technique, the clients will be more than ready to pay for their services. The sheep beast starts crying upon hearing what Zhue intends to do with her. Ling Xiao thinks that this guy, General Zhue, is from Blood Moon, a second league sect. They are known for taking humanoid spiritual beasts and forcing them to serve and please their clients, and it seems that Liu Feng is also complicit in this. Ling Xiao keeps thinking that he can no longer get involved with them. Ling Xiao just has to find a way to get the bubbles technique and get out of there. Ling Xiao pretends to be Liu Feng and tells Zhue he has a request for him. Ling Xiao tries to grab the scroll, saying he also needs it, and asks if Zhue can't give it to him. But Zhue places his hand over the scroll, preventing Ling Xiao from taking it. Zhue, with a scary expression, tells Ling Xiao that he seems a bit different. Ling Xiao is completely terrified, thinking that he messed up, believing that Zhue discovered everything. But Zhue just asks why Ling Xiao isn't drinking and takes the opportunity to make a challenge. If Ling Xiao beats him in drinking, he will give the bubbles technique to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao is a bit worried, as he is weak with drinks. He remembers when he got very drunk in his past life. They were celebrating the first anniversary of the Vento do Pavilion sect. He takes the opportunity to thank everyone for being there today, then he toasts everyone, but it doesn't take long for him to get very crazy. Guling tries to calm Ling Xiao, asking him to go rest. The other boy from the sect couldn't believe that Ling Xiao was drunk, as he had only drunk a small cup of drink. Ling Xiao is afraid of getting drunk again, but suddenly Zhue comes close to Ling Xiao and asks what the problem is, and if he is going to back out, because if Ling Xiao backs out, Bubbles will stay with Zhue. So Ling Xiao decides to accept. An hour later, Ling Xiao hands another drink to Zhue, but Zhue is already trembling and can't drink anymore. However, Ling Xiao is practically sober. Zhue, lying on the table, says he can't drink anymore and praises Ling Xiao for being able to drink so much. Ling Xiao thinks that, in fact, he didn't feel anything. He didn't expect Lu Feng to be able to drink so much. Ling Xiao tells Shui that he will take the bubbles technique with him. Shui, still lying on the table, just raises his hand and affirms that Ling Xiao can take it. After taking the scroll, Ling Xiao stands up and says he has to train Puny quickly, and that when they are strong enough, Ling Xiao won't have to deal with these people again. As he was leaving, he saw the same humanoid beast from before. Ling Xiao approaches her and sees that she was tied to the foot of the table and was crying on the ground. He extends his hand near her, but she recoils in fear of him. However, Ling Xiao just unties her. She was confused about what he did. Ling Xiao smiles and tells her to run away quickly from there and asks her to be careful next time not to get caught again. Elsewhere, in a beautiful lake in the middle of the forest, Ling Xiao was there with Puny. He sees that river there and tells Puny that it is a great place. Then he tells Puny that he will show him how to get stronger. Puny is very happy with this and starts dancing. First, Puny needs to learn the bubbles technique. The spiritual master can copy the technique to another scroll by enchantments, so that other spiritual beasts can learn the same technique. Ling Xiao starts to open the scroll and tells Puny that it's quite easy. He opens the scroll, and there's a QR code there. He places the scroll on top of Puny, and with that, the scroll is destroyed. But before that, the technique's enchantments are diffused into Puny's body. The technique was successfully learned, and Puny starts to glow, and Ling Xiao is happy with the result. Ling Xiao tells Puny that the bubbles technique was learned. Bubbles is a defensive technique. It consists of forming a protective layer made of water around the body. Ling Xiao says that this technique requires a large amount of water, and that's why they are there by the river. Ling Xiao asks Puny to try using bubbles on him. Puny then prepares, starts to gather some water, and in a matter of seconds, the water ball becomes much larger. Ling Xiao praises Puny for doing a good job and asks Puny to move the water ball slowly to Ling Xiao. Puny, doing this, is trembling with nervousness, and because of that, he ends up bursting the water ball in Ling Xiao's face. Ling Xiao starts coughing, and Puny is worried about him, but he tells Puny that he did well and should try again. Next time Puny is taking the water ball to Ling Xiao praises Puny again, and asks Puny to try to envelop Ling Xiao's body with the water ball. Puny manages to envelop Ling Xiao, but Ling Xiao starts to drown inside, as there is a lot of water in the bubble, but after a few attempts, they finally succeeded. Ling Xiao celebrates for finally achieving it. He is now completely covered and protected by water. The next step now is crucial. Ling Xiao asks Puny to swallow him. Puny is confused and shocked by this, but Ling Xiao asks again for Puny to use the swallow technique on him, and Puny remains shocked and open-mouthed. Puny goes up to Ling Xiao to see if he is sick, but Ling Xiao, with a strange expression, says he is not crazy. He explains that it is madness, but that's why he is the only one who knows this secret. Ling Xiao asks Puny to trust him, as he is covered with a protective layer because of the bubbles technique, and so when Puny swallows him, he won't die. Ling Xiao then asks again for Puny to swallow him. Puny starts to prepare and begins to suck Ling Xiao's face. Before being swallowed, Ling Xiao reminds Puny to use the bubbles technique first. As Ling Xiao is being swallowed by Puny, he tells Puny not to be like his predecessor who swallowed Ling Xiao like this. Then, for sure, Ling Xiao will be killed. Puny completely swallowed Ling Xiao and burped to relieve himself. A silence takes over the place, and Puny becomes confused and starts to freak out, thinking he killed his master. But from inside, Ling Xiao speaks to Puny, saying that everything is all right. Puny looks around, searching for his master, but Ling Xiao tells Puny that he is inside his stomach at that moment. Ling Xiao explains that catfish are born with a unique ability that allows them to swallow things much larger than themselves. This only works because inside the catfish, there is an extremely large space, and anything swallowed will be quickly digested. The reason why Ling Xiao is not being digested is that he is protected by the bubbles effect. However, the white snake Xiaobai that Puny previously swallowed was not so lucky. Ling Xiao starts looking around for something, and quickly he finds what he was looking for. He runs towards a red light. Ling Xiao says that Xiaobai has been completely digested and turned into orbs. He picks up the orbs and explains that those orbs will make their beasts strong quickly. Ling Xiao asks Puny to let him out. A little while later, Ling Xiao is already out of Puny's stomach and says that they need to increase a beast's spirit to make it stronger. The only way to increase their spirit is to train them and go into battles, and this is a very long and arduous process. But there is another alternative. They can use a shortcut. The spiritual beasts that Puny swallowed will be refined into spiritual atoms inside Puny's stomach. Ling Xiao takes the orbs in his hand and asks Puny to look. Ling Xiao says that those are the spiritual orbs that he recovered from Puny's stomach. Ling Xiao shows the orbs and explains that Xiaobai was a fire-type spiritual beast. So she was transformed into these two orbs, the beast and fire orbs. Ling Xiao's beasts are of the water, vine, and beast types. He begins to summon one of his beasts. Teddy appears, and Ling Xiao hands him a beast orb, which is of the same type as Teddy. Then Teddy eats the orb. His eyes begin to glow intensely, and suddenly, his whole body starts to glow. Ling Xiao managed to strengthen his beast without any training, only by consuming beast orbs. Ling Xiao explains that his beasts are still in the infancy stage, but the snake Xiaobai was at level 5 of the mature stage, and therefore she had many more spirits than his beasts. Ling Xiao looks at Teddy and says that he can become drastically stronger. Teddy is currently in the infancy stage, but after consuming the spiritual orb, he reached the final level of the infancy stage, and now Teddy is going to the next stage. Teddy starts to glow intensely and suddenly he gets bigger. As he reached level 6 of the mature stage, his type level was also increased. He gained new techniques being sudden attack and wild growl. Puny goes up to Teddy and asks something, and Teddy answers. Ling Xiao, looking at this, realizes that Teddy has grown after reaching the mature stage. Ling Xiao says that even with just one spirit orb, Teddy went to the mature stage and already at level 6, this is a shortcut to becoming strong quickly. So Ling Xiao decides to look for spiritual beasts of the beast, water, or vine types in that forest. Ling Xiao explains that Puny will swallow them and transform them into spiritual orbs. And thus Ling Xiao will considerably raise the level of his beasts. Ling Xiao is determined and tells his beasts that they will become very strong soon and they will no longer be afraid of anyone. After that, Ling Xiao will take his beasts to rebuild the Vento do Pavillon sect. With this, all his beasts get excited about what's to come, but suddenly they hear something in the bushes. A chubby lizard comes out of the bushes. Onion runs and gives the lizard an arm lock. Teddy steps on it and uses his weight to immobilize the lizard, and Puny starts to suck the lizard to transform it into an orb. Ling Xiao, seeing that his beasts caught a spiritual beast, praises them because that beast really was of the beast type, and Puny can refine it for Teddy to consume. But Ling Xiao explains that this spiritual beast is only at level 3 of the infancy stage. The amount of spirits in it is very low. So it's not enough to evolve a level of Teddy. Ling Xiao takes the lead, points up and says they should find stronger spiritual beasts. Only then will the spirit of their beasts increase significantly. Ling Xiao asks to just let the small beasts go their own ways, so Ling Xiao lets the little lizard go away. Sometime later, Ling Xiao comes out of the bushes and spots something. He points to what he saw and says it's a decent beast, and they should start with it. The monster is a giant frog. Its name is Huge Chin Frog. Its ability is poison, and currently it's at level 5 of the mature stage. Sometime later, a large purple smoke was in the forest. It was Ling Xiao's battle against the frog. The battle was so intense that it even shook the water of a nearby lake, and the frog's poison was so powerful that it burned the smaller plants. Ling Xiao managed to win the battle, but he and his beasts were injured and poisoned. Ling Xiao was trembling, lying on the ground next to Onion, who was also trembling. Ling Xiao looks at Puny and says that the frog has finally been swallowed. Puny was very full from swallowing the frog, but he burps to relieve himself and poison comes out of his mouth. Ling Xiao starts coughing and points out that they were very careless. The frog's toxin was very powerful. Ling Xiao sees Puny and Onion poisoned, and even he was poisoned. His hand is turning purple from the poison. Ling Xiao thinks things got bad if they don't treat themselves in time. But suddenly the toxin starts to decrease. This shocks Ling Xiao. He looks to the side and Teddy was there with no poison at all. He asks if it was Teddy who cured the poison and how he did that. Teddy stands on Onion as a demonstration, and Ling Xiao yells at Teddy to stop. After everyone is cured of the poison, Ling Xiao gathers them all and shows 2 orbs. They obtained an aquatic type orb and a poison type orb by swallowing the poisonous frog. Lingxiu says the aquatic-type spiritual orb will be used to increase Puny's level, and Teddy will get the poison-type spiritual orb to increase Teddy's subtype. Teddy and Puny scream with excitement. Onion feels sad seeing that only Teddy and Puny are receiving spiritual orbs, but Ling Xiao talks to him and explains that plant-type spiritual beasts are less common. Ling Xiao asks Onion not to worry, as they will now look for plant-type spiritual beasts, and assures Onion that he will become stronger. Ling Xiao raises his finger and explains that through this method, all of them will become at least 20 times stronger much faster, and if they train there for 2 weeks, it will be equivalent to a year of training for others. Puny, Teddy, and Onion are extremely happy with this, but their happiness soon ends when Ling Xiao says there is a downside to this method, as when they are focused only on evolving and not on gaining battle experiences, they will be weak during a battle. Ling Xiao makes a scary face and tells them that for the next 2 weeks, he will give them intense training to increase their battle skills. Ling Xiao emphasizes that they must be mentally prepared for what is to come. This leaves Puny, Teddy, and Onion completely scared. Ling Xiao raises his fingers and tells everyone that the 2-week hell training starts now. On the first day of training, Onion, Puny, and Teddy are chasing some footprints on the ground. On the second day of training, Puny, Teddy, and Onion are battling a tree beast. By the 5th day of training, Teddy and Onion are helping Puny swallow a bear, and as time passes, Onion, Puny, and Teddy become stronger and stronger. The 2 weeks pass, and Ling Xiao finally achieves his preliminary goals. Ling Xiao says they all did a great job. Ling Xiao sighs and starts putting a band on his arm. He clenches his fist and says that now they will head towards Vento do Pavilion. He calls the pig again and runs towards the sect. They pass through a plateau, bamboo grove, and even mountains, and finally arrive at Vento do Pavilion sect. Entering the sect, Ling Xiao notices that the ground and walls are all cracked, as if abandoned. Ling Xiao is speechless at this moment. He remembers how it used to be, and now, in just 1 year, it has become like this. Ling Xiao wonders how this happened. Ling Xiao enters the gate and notices that there are no guards, and the door is open. Ling Xiao wonders how everyone in the sect is now, but suddenly Ling Xiao hears a scream. A member of Vento do Pavilion sect is lying on the ground and injured. Apparently his spiritual beast is already dead. Another person begins to advance with his spiritual beast. A guy with his arms behind his back says it's a waste that a worthless sect is occupying such a nice place. The bald guy, apparently the leader of this group, begins to say that this place now belonged to them, Giant Stone. The bald guy tells the members of the sect to pack up and leave if they don't want to die. The bald guy's beast is a dragon lizard at level 1 of the formation stage. Guling goes to the injured guy and asks if he's okay. He responds with a trembling voice that this group suddenly arrived and attacked him. Another member of Vento do Pavilion sect starts shouting, saying they are a bunch of bandits who dared to provoke them in their own home. The boy begins to summon his spiritual beast. He summons his spirit beast, a shadow cat, a feline-type spirit beast. Its subtype is darkness, and it is in the formation stage, level 3. The bald man, upon seeing the cat, says that the shadow cat has finally appeared. He points out that the Pavilion Wind sect can barely hold up against the shadow cat. All other spirit beasts have been killed by other sects. The bald man orders his subordinates to kill the shadow cat so that the Pavilion Wind sect will be theirs. Then, his subordinates summon their spirit beasts, the Beetle King and the Thorn Turtle. The Beetle King is in the mature stage, its type is insect, and it is at level 9. The Thorn Turtle is in the Earth formation, at level 1. The boy, upon hearing the bald man saying that they are barely holding up, responds by saying that the bald man knows nothing about the power of the shadow cat. The boy calls the cat meows, and the boy says, "Cut them to pieces." Then, the cat quickly leaps and starts running towards the enemy's spirit beasts. The bald man is shocked by the speed of the cat and yells for everyone to keep their distance. The lizard starts spinning very fast and tries to hit the cat with its tail whip. However, the cat is faster and manages to dodge without much difficulty. The cat is so fast that it sees the lizard's tail passing slowly by its side. It uses its deadly slice ability and passes through the lizard's tail, cutting it into several pieces. The lizard screams in pain, and the bald man is already sweating in shock. He yells to surround the cat. The turtle hides inside its shell and starts spinning and going towards the cat. The boy is worried about the cat, but the cat manages to jump before being hit by the turtle. From above, it uses its ability and cuts the turtle into several cubes. The cat even mocks them as if it had been easy and starts licking its paw. The subordinates start to get desperate. The one in the back starts yelling because his turtle has died, but the one in the front commands his beetle king to attack the cat. The beetle starts running and goes towards the cat, who is still licking its paw. It turns with a frightening look and simply disappears so fast that it jumped. It makes a spiral and uses its deadly slice ability and slices the beetle king with extreme ease. The beetle falls to the ground and the cat continues walking, leaving the thieves terrified and trembling. The boy looks at the thieves and says that they overestimated themselves, but at this moment the bald man looks at one of his subordinates and nods his head. They still had a plan. The subordinate uses his magic to give orders to his beast. The beetle king, still alive, starts to move, even with difficulties, and ejects its horn as if it were a missile. The horn goes towards Guling and the others, who are left without reaction watching the horn come their way. The boy yells for his cat to protect the sect members, so his cat runs and cuts the horn into several pieces before it reaches the group. At that moment, Guling realizes something. She yells for the cat to be careful, but it's too late. The lizard bites the cat so hard that blood splatters everywhere. The boy is shocked and screams for his cat. The lizard continues biting the cat while Guling looked at it in amazement. The lizard throws the cat to the side, which starts to bounce on the ground due to the force with which the lizard threw it. The boy quickly runs to see his cat, and when he gets there, he sees his cat lying on the ground. The cat just makes a noise for its owner, as if it were a goodbye. The boy picks up his cat and starts crying while hugging it. The boy screams, begging for his cat not to die. The thieves celebrate having killed the shadow cat. The bald man looks at the sect members and says that now the Pavilion Wind sect is without spirit beasts to fight. The bald man smiles and says that they are dead now. The lizard starts walking and goes towards the boy, who was desolate because of his cat. The bald man says that everyone there from the Pavilion Wind sect is out of touch with reality. The glory days of the sect are in the past. The bald man says that he can easily destroy them there and then, and he will start with the boy. At that moment, the boy didn't care about anything anymore. He has already lost his leader, his hope, and now his cat, which he loved. For him, death would be a relief from the pain he was feeling at the moment. The lizard was already preparing to attack, but Guling yells and asks him to stop. Suddenly, a squirt of pee hits the lizard's head. The lizard quickly turns to see who attacked. The bald man asks who that person was. Ling Xiao appeared with a pea gun in his hand. Ling Xiao looks at the thieves and asks how a bunch of trash like them dares to attack his sect. Guling and the others are impressed with Ling Xiao, but Guling is completely paralyzed by what she is seeing. She sees her leader asking the thieves if they are tired of living. Guling starts to tremble, wondering if this is real, but her vision starts to blur. She sees that it was actually Ling Xiao who was there. She covers her mouth and blushes, saying she was hallucinating. Guling turns to her companions and asks them who that person was, but they all say they don't know who he is. At that moment, the bald man yells at Ling Xiao that this matter is none of his business, and if Ling Xiao doesn't want to die along with the sect, it's better for him to leave. But Ling Xiao responds that this matter is indeed his business, as he's the owner of the sect. Ling Xiu releases Teddy and tells him to show the results of their training. Teddy starts running quickly. The bald man asks if Ling Xiu is crazy, as Teddy is still in the mature stage and the bald man's lizard is in the formation stage. The bald man says that if Ling Xiao wants Teddy to die, he will be happy to help. Teddy is heading towards the lizard, but suddenly the lizard uses its paw to attack. However, before being hit, Teddy uses his ball ability to nullify any physical damage. The lizard hits Teddy, but it has no effect. The bald man starts sweating and thinks this is impossible, as even taking a direct hit from his lizard, Teddy is still intact. Ling Xiao tells Teddy that he is going to easy and asks him to show the claw attack. Then Teddy jumps and hits the lizard in the face. The blow was so strong that the lizard spat blood. The bald man and the hairy man were dumbfounded by this, but it wasn't over. Teddy started to give several consecutive blows, leaving the lizard no time to react. Ling Xiao continued to manage from afar. Suddenly, Teddy jumped and held the lizard with his hands and feet and gave a belly bump to the lizard that threw it far away. The lizard fell to the ground with force and fainted. The hairy man screams and asks what happened. The bald man is outraged that a weak dog managed to beat his dragon lizard. Ling Xiu thinks these thieves are very bad at battles, as they didn't even notice that the lizard was hit by the weakening P right at the beginning, and that's why it lost. The bald man asks his subordinates not to be afraid, as Ling Xiu is just one. Then the bald man decides to summon all his spirit beasts. Then several spirit beasts of the mature and infant stage appeared. The bald man yells that even if his beasts are low level, Ling Xiao is outnumbered. The bald man tells them to forget the dog and attack Ling Xiao directly. Ling Xiao, seeing this, is amazed. Then Ling Xiao decides to run and says that the bald man is using dirty tricks again. The hairy man praises the bald man's plan, saying it is very effective. The bald man says they have to eliminate Ling Xiao, no matter how. However, this was all part of Ling Xiao's plan. The thieves run past and Ling Xiao was just waiting for them. The bald man and the hairy man are shocked again by what they see. Ling Xiao calls them fools and asks if they really thought Ling Xiao was running away. He explains that he just needed the thieves' beasts to pass through the door so that Ling Xiao could defeat them all at once. Onion is now at the maximum mature stage, and only he was holding all the thieves' spirit beasts. One of the thieves yells that Ling Xiao has more spirit beasts, and the bald man points out that they are much stronger than their spirit beasts. Ling Xiao calls Puny and says they have friends coming to feed him, and asks Puny to thank them. Puny then arrives behind the thieves with a sinister aura that leaves the bald man and the hairy man paralyzed for a while. The two are frightened by Puny being behind them, and at that moment, Onion makes a move and throws all the thieves' beasts to Puny, and Puny swallows them all at once. Puny is at the maximum mature stage as well. The thieves fall to the ground and start trembling in fear. Puny, in the back, burps as always after swallowing a beast. Ling Xiao points to Puny and thanks the thieves for feeding his beast, as Ling Xiao was worried about how he would find high-quality spirit beasts. The bald man points to Puny and asks, with a trembling voice, if that beast was the whale. Upon closer inspection, he realizes that it really was the whale in its infancy stage. He asks Ling Xiao how he managed to get it. Another member of the thieves asks if they didn't give an order to eliminate that fish, and the bald man yells yes. The bald man points to Ling Xiao and says that Ling Xiao is against the alliance and says that he will have problems with that. The bald man continues saying that now he has Ling Xiao in his hands, as if he tells the alliance that Ling Xiao has the whale, he will be hunted and imprisoned for that. Ling Xiao, with a frightening expression, responds to the bald man saying that if everyone is killed, they will not be able to make a report to the alliance. All the thieves are completely terrified, and the hairy man says that Ling Xiao is right. But Ling Xiao says that the thieves would have a disgusting taste, so Puny wouldn't eat them, and Puny nods his head, confirming. Ling Xiao says to Teddy that he would leave that to him, and Teddy starts growling at the thieves. The thieves, terrified, ask Ling Xiao to wait, as they won't say anything to the alliance, and ask Ling Xiao to spare their lives. But suddenly, squirts of pee hit the thieves' faces. The bald man starts coughing and asks why Teddy did that. Ling Xiao starts saying that Puny is wanted all over the continent, and Ling Xiao is afraid that this will be exposed soon, so they are well prepared for that. That pee from before is a technique that Ling Xiao invented for Teddy. It's called amnesia. Ling Xiao tells the thieves to forget everything that happened there. Now, suddenly, Gu Ling appears calling Ling Xiao and asking if they are okay. But when she sees what is happening, she is startled. The thieves are completely confused, wondering what happened and why they can't remember anything. After passing through the sect's door, the hairy man even asks where their spirit beasts are. Ling Xiao tells the thieves that if they don't leave now, he will beat them again. Teddy and Onion take the opportunity to scare them a little more. Even though they don't remember what happened, they decide to flee before doing anything. Gu Ling calls Ling Xiao and asks where their spiritual monsters are. Ling Xiao answers that he scared them all away. Gu Ling calls Ling Xiao a hero and thanks him. She asks how they can repay the favor. But suddenly Ling Xiao hugs Gu Ling and says, "It's great to see them all again." Ling Xiao continues hugging Gu Ling, and her chest starts to touch Ling Xiao. She blushes and doesn't know what to say. She wonders if Ling Xiao will ask her to repay the favor by devoting herself to him. Gu Ling tells Ling Xiao to take it easy. Ling Xiao releases her and says that now she doesn't know who he is. Gu Ling is confused by what Ling Xiao is saying. Ling Xiao puts his hand on his waist and says, "You may not believe it, but I am." At that moment, Ling Xiao realizes something. He realizes that he cannot tell who he really is. Some people must have altered the evolution of the whale previously. That's why it went from whale to zombie whale, and the goal of that person was to destroy Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao thinks they might be one of them and watches their every move in secret. They might even be the people close to them. They might try to attack Ling Xiao again if they find out that he is reincarnated. Ling Xiao thinks he might not be able to deal with them with his current power. This would not only put Ling Xiao's life at risk, but also affect the investigation of the incident with his family. It could even put the sect members in danger. That's why Ling Xiao cannot say who he is. Not for now, at least. Ling Xiao scratches his head and says that Gu Ling is very familiar to him. He says it's a pleasure to meet her, and says his name is Lu Feng and he is a florist. He decides to keep the truth a secret for now. Gu Ling introduces herself and thanks Ling Xiao for saving the sect. Ling Xiao grabs Gu Ling by the arm and runs off, asking her to take him inside to meet everyone else. Upon entering the sect again, we can see the remains of the turtle and the beetle king. The sect members were also there. Gu Ling introduces Ling Xiao to everyone, saying he is the hero who saved them. Everyone greets him and thanks him for saving them. Ling Xiao waves to them and says no thanks are needed, he just did what was right. Ling Xiao notices that everyone was still there in the sect. That was great. However, he looks at the boy who was holding the cat. Gu Ling goes to the boy to talk to him. He informs that the shadow cat was dead. Ling Xiao, upon hearing this, is paralyzed and Gu Ling starts crying. Ling Xiao remembers that when he caught that cat, when it was still a cub, it was him and Duan, who is the boy we are talking about. The two were happy to have caught that cat. Duan is very happy because the speed of this cat is unbelievable, besides being very rare. Ling Xiao hands the cat to Duan and says that now the cat was his. Duan is completely amazed by this and asks if Ling Xiao was serious. Ling Xiao replies that since Duan wants it so much, now it's his, but Ling Xiao asks him to take good care of the cat. Duan, with tears in his eyes, yells saying that he will take very good care of it and make it one of the strongest spirit beasts. Ling Xiao was already frustrated with what happened, and Gu Ling explains to him that the shadow cat was given to Duan by his master, and since then, it is Duan's favorite spirit beast. Gu Ling tells Duan that she is sorry for his loss, but Duan just says, with a calm and depressed voice, that he will leave the sect. Gu Ling is surprised and asks where he is going. Duan replies that all his spirit beasts are dead, and it no longer makes sense to stay there, so he should no longer stay in the sect. Duan says he is sorry, but he intends to leave. Gu Ling tries to stop him, but Duan just walks away. He passes by Ling Xiao, who is sad because his friend is leaving. Ling Xiao turns and grabs Duan's clothes and tries to stop him from leaving. Ling Xiao yells for Duan not to go and says that the pavilion wind has not ended yet and he can help the sect to rise again. Duan asks who Ling Xiao thinks he is. Duan turns around and starts yelling that Ling Xiao can't help, as how could an outsider help? Duan points out that the Pavilion Wind sect used to be the best sect in the world and its strength is not even worth mentioning. But suddenly, Gu Ling interferes to prevent the fight from continuing. She asks Duan not to say those things and asks Ling Xiao to forgive Duan, as he is very upset and probably didn't mean those things. Ling Xiao is frustrated with this. In the past, Duan was looking for a sect that he saw on a flyer. He asks if that was the place. Ling Xiao goes to Duan and asks if he wants to join the sect, but he was indifferent there. He said that Ling Xiao seemed too young to be a leader. Duan asks how many members the sect had. Ling Xiao replies that it was just him, actually. Duan turns around and asks how there is only him in the sect. Ling Xiao replies that recruitment has just started. Duan started looking at the sect and was complaining about several things, such as, the place looks very small. There is no sign of entrance. Are you short of money? The uniform doesn't seem to be good. I like red. The living conditions don't seem very good. Do you provide hot water? And just a shared bathroom, I would have a bright future if I joined you. Ling Xiao sighs and tells Duan that, if he hates it so much, it's better. But before Ling Xiao finishes speaking, Duan waves his hand and says, those things are not important. He asks Ling Xiao to answer just one thing. Duan shows the flyer that Ling Xiao wrote and says that it was written there that Ling Xiao wants to build the best sect in the world. Duan asks if Ling Xiao is serious about this, and if Ling Xiao is confident that he can do it. Ling Xiao responds affirmatively, and Duan shakes Ling Xiao's hand, saying that he will join the sect with Ling Xiao and build the best sect in the world. He also asks Ling Xiao not to disappoint him. After remembering how he met Duan, Ling Xiao remains frustrated that his friend is leaving and he can't do anything about it. Guling continues trying to stop him, saying that Duan can't leave, as they must continue their leader's legacy and stay and protect the Pavilion Wind. Duan, crying, says that the leader is dead and he was the one who took the sect to the top. Without him, the Pavilion Wind sect is nothing. Guling starts crying too and asks Duan not to say such things, as they still can. Duan interrupts her and asks her to face reality. The Pavilion Wind has been declining since last year. Hearing this, everyone in the sect is shocked. Duan wipes his tears and starts to leave. As he leaves, he says he wants to forget that place and start a new life, and asks everyone to be well. Guling runs to the other members and asks Xiao and Zhou to stop Duan from leaving, but the rest of the sect agrees with Duan and says he is right. Guling is even more shocked. Xiao says that the Pavilion Wind now only exists in name. Other sects would crusade against them from time to time. They will take their resources and kill their spirit beasts, making it impossible to grow again. The sect has now been relegated. It's only a matter of time before the sect collapses. They all greet Gu Ling and inform her that they are also going to leave. They thank her for taking care of them in the past, but now they must go their separate ways. As they leave, Gu Ling tries to talk to them and stop them from leaving, but it's in vain. They continue to leave. Ling Xiao shouts for everyone to wait, and, at that moment, everyone looks at him. Ling Xiao asks them not to go. The Pavilion Wind is not over. Ling Xiao tries to reveal who he really is, but the possible consequence of revealing his true identity comes to his mind. So, he falls to his knees on the ground. He is frustrated that he can't say who he is. He asks again for everyone to trust him. If they give him more time, he will overcome all difficulties and restore the glory of the Pavilion Wind. Everyone is somewhat suspicious of what Ling Xiao is saying, but suddenly Duan starts to return. He stops in front of everyone and faces the sect's gate. He bows and everyone bows before the sect and wishes the best, and with that they leave, leaving Ling Xiao and Gu Ling. Ling Xiao asks why this is happening. He just needs a little more time as he can rebuild the sect. He sees himself in the image of his old body kneeling on the ground and begs them not to leave. Gu Ling covers her face with her hand as she cries, but suddenly someone puts a hand on her shoulder. It's Chen Shi, the youngest member of the sect. He tells Gu Ling not to be upset. Gu Ling is surprised that Chen Shi is still there. Chen Shi responds that Gu Ling was the one who appeared in his life when he was in his worst phase, so he couldn't just leave. Chen Shi emphasizes that wherever Gu Ling goes, he will go with her. Gu Ling pats Chen Shi's head and says she's sorry for bringing him when the sect is at its lowest point. Gu Ling says it's not even a year since Chen Shi has gone through many hardships. She says she has only wasted Chen Shi's life. Chen Shi asks Gu Ling not to say those things anymore. Gu Ling is downcast as now it's just the two of them in the sect from now on. But at that moment, someone calls them. This woman is Tong. She is the sect's cook. Tong asks Gu Ling how much food she should make for lunch today, as several people have left. Gu Ling had thought Tong had left too. Tong responds that she doesn't have many places she can go and she signed a 5-year contract with the sect leader, so she still has to fulfill the contract. But she says to Gu Ling that if Gu Ling wants her to leave too, she will. But Tong emphasizes that the contract says Gu Ling will have to compensate Tong with 3 months of her salary. But Gu Ling says that's not what she meant. Chen Shi pulls Gu Ling by the clothes and calls her. Chen Shi points to Ling Jiao and says the hero is still there, and they are ignoring him. Gu Ling goes to Ling Jiao and apologizes to him for having witnessed all that and for not having treated him properly. She clasps her hands and asks him to stay, rest, and have a meal before leaving. but Ling Xiao just asks to join the sect at Kure. Guling is astonished by this and asks Ling Xiao if he is serious. Ling Xiao thinks that, to investigate the family massacre, the sect must enter the upper league, and that's why he created the Pavilion Wind sect. Ling Xiao continued to evolve his strength for this reason as well. He would destroy entire sects alone. The Pavilion Wind sect grew very quickly because of this, but Ling Xiao neglected the strengths of the other sect members. Ling Xiao blames himself when he remembers the past because he realizes he never took good care of his disciples. Ling Xiao didn't look at them beyond the most basic consideration. He failed to be a leader and didn't make them stronger. Ling Xiao clenched his fists, frustrated because everyone joined the Pavilion Wind sect because they believed in him, but even so, it didn't end well for them. Ling Xiao was very selfish. Guling tells Ling Xiao that the sect is now not in the best condition, and it would be a waste for him to stay in a sect like this with the strength he has. Ling Xiao holds Guling by the shoulders and asks her to stop talking because he wants to join the sect and that's it. He lowers his head and swears. He looks up and shouts that he will restore the glory of the Pavilion Wind and never let anyone leave the sect again. Sometime later, inside the house, Ling Xiao is amazed by something, and Guling behind him says that if Ling Xiao really wants to join the sect, they will welcome him without problems and even hold a simple initiation ceremony for him. Guling asks Ling Xiao to pray to their leader, but he finds it a bit strange because he is praying to himself. Ling Xiao looks better at the portrait and wonders who that is. He asks them if that portrait is of their leader who died. Chen Shi replies yes, and it was Sister Gu Ling who drew the portrait. Chen Shi says he heard that the leader was exactly like that when he was alive. Gu Ling corrects Chen Shi, saying that's not true, and that, in fact, there is only 90% similarity. Meanwhile, Ling Xiao cries as he realizes how people remembered him. Even so, Ling Xiao bowed and prayed to himself. He begins to say, Leader Ling Xiao, I, Liu Feng, am joining the Pavilion Wind sect and will continue your legacy and strive to help the Pavilion Wind sect become the best sect in the world. Chen Shi asks Guling if everything will be okay because Ling Xiao is very enthusiastic about it. Guling smiles and replies, yes, she is sure everything will be fine, even though she doesn't know why. She emphasizes that since she first saw him, he seemed very familiar and feels she can trust him. Guling informs Ling Xiao that from now on she is his senior sister. She introduces herself again and introduces Chen Shi as well. Chen Shi is happy to have a junior brother now. Ling Xiao clasps his hands and greets them too, his sister and senior brother. Guling starts showing the sect to Ling Xiao. She shows where the guest room and the training room are. Chen Shi points to the side and shows where the kitchen is, where Tong is making lunch for them. Guling continues showing the places until she reaches the male dormitory. She opens the door and sees many people inside. One of them was changing and yells at Guling to knock before entering. But all this was just memories. Now the place is completely empty. Guling is upset about this. Chen Shi tells Ling Xiao that everyone has left, so he can choose any bed to sleep in, but Chen Shi recommends Ling Xiao to stay close to him because it gets a little scary at night. Ling Xiao listens to this somewhat suspiciously. Guling explains to Ling Xiao that since everyone left with the uniforms, and currently they don't have money, he will have to wear his own clothes for now. Chen Shi realizes that they should have asked them to take off the uniforms before leaving. Guling says that in fact, they have one spare uniform, but it's for women. Ling Xiao responds that it's not necessary, his clothes are fine. Guling says that now Ling Xiao needs to learn the sect's password, as with the password he can gain access to some alliance facilities, even though they have very limited access now. Ling Xiao sighs because he already knows how ridiculous the password is, so he begins, Little fish, thud, thud, giant whale, wow, wow, pavilion wind, love, love. Guling congratulates Ling Xiao for learning very quickly. It doesn't even seem like it's his first time doing this. Ling Xiao smiles and nods to her, thinking that it's because he's already familiar with this password. Guling calls him and says it's lunchtime. When they get there, they see beautiful dishes with hot food on the table. Tong brings another pot and asks Ling Xiao to taste her cooking. Guling tells Ling Xiao that she's sorry it's only this much they have to offer, but now they are on a limited budget, and this was all they had. Tong was leaving, and Gu Ling calls her and tells her to eat with them, now that everyone has left. Tong sits at the table and makes a happy face. However, only she was excited there. Ling Xiao, Gu Ling, and Chen Shi were melancholic. While eating, there was total silence. But to break the ice, Tong asks them not to be so down, because in life there are ups and downs, but still, one has to eat to live. Chen Shi smiles and agrees with Tong. He emphasizes that today is a happy day, because Ling Xiao joined them, so they should celebrate. Given his strength, they have good chances of being promoted to the upper league. Hearing this, Ling Xiao remembers that in a month, there will be an alliance evaluation competition. Gu Ling says they have already registered for next month's competition. If the Pavilion Wind does well, they will be promoted to the 4th league. They have practiced for a long time, so they should enter confidently. However, she fears they might not have enough for the standard test after so many people left the sect. Chen Shi points out that there must be 4 participants, and they are only 3. And even if they try to recruit more members, it wouldn't work because of the current situation of the sect. Ling Xiao asks Tong to join them. Tong is hesitant to accept, as she explains she only knows how to clean and cook, knows nothing about spirit beasts. Gu Ling agrees with Ling Xiao, and tells Tong that she can do it, as the leader once said. Don't underestimate Sister Tong. She is talented in the spiritual realm. She is even better than most of you here. She just became a cook because she didn't want to become a spiritual master. Tong, remembering this, blushes and tries to deny all this, but Gu Ling and Chen Shi start begging her to accept, as they are in a critical moment. Tong sighs while eating a bitter melon and thinks that she has been with the Pavilion Wind sect for many years, and everyone has always been kind to her. So she must do more for them as she can. However, she thinks she might be a burden to them because she knows nothing about spirit beasts. Chen Shi comes close to Tong and says it will be fine because she is very talented and will learn very quickly. Tong then decides to accept. She says she will try to do it. Gu Ling makes a cute face and thanks Tong for trying, but Tong emphasizes something. She says that since she has to become a spiritual master and also has her maid duties, she will be paid for both jobs. Quickly, Gu Ling's expression changes, and she becomes sad, but Tong starts laughing and says it's a joke and that when circumstances improve, they can talk about it. Chen Xi is thrilled to have a junior brother now, and he takes the opportunity that everyone is there and suggests choosing a new leader, as they need a new leader for the competition. Gu Ling remembers Duan and says that the best candidate for leader was him because he joined the sect before everyone else and was the strongest among them. But sadly, he left the sect. Chen Shi looks at Ling Xiao and shouts that now he knows who can be the new leader. Ling Xiao is surprised by this. However, he begins to say that since he just arrived, he's not sure about this. But before Ling Xiao finishes speaking, Chen Shi names Gu Ling as the new leader of the sect. Gu Ling blushes with embarrassment, but Ling Xiao blushes even more and buries his face in the food. They all salute the new leader. Gu Ling says being treated this way reminds her of the sect's old leader. She says she will be the sect's acting leader for a while and will help the sect improve. Chen Xi is happy because it's been a while since they were last this excited. He asks the leader what the next step is. Ling Xiao and Gu Ling speak at the same time, saying that first, they need to acquire spirit beasts. Gu Ling smiles and asks Ling Xiao to continue, but Ling Xiao declines and asks Gu Ling to continue, as she is the leader. Gu Ling explains that because of the various attacks the sect has been suffering, neither she nor Tong have spirit beasts anymore. They were all killed. She says the most important task now is to acquire new spirit beasts and train them to participate in the competition. But since all the places where the best quality beasts are have been taken by other sects, they can't find better quality spirit beasts. However, Ling Xiao says he knows a place. He thinks that at that time, when he was hunting spiritual orbs to level up, he found some deserted places with high-quality spirit beasts. Now is the time to use them. Ling Xiao bangs the plate on the table and tells them not to waste time and to move right now. As they went to the location, Chen Shi says he frequently makes that journey and has never seen anything special there. But Ling Xiao replies that it wouldn't be a secret place if it could be easily found. Ling Xiao turns around and informs everyone that they are arriving and asks everyone to be careful. He takes a branch and starts to erase the tracks they made so as not to make it easy for people to find, as it's better that only they know about that place. Ling Xiao asks everyone to look around to see if there's anyone nearby who might see them, and Chen Shi finds Ling Xiao very careful. Ling Xiao takes the lead again and asks everyone to follow him. He points ahead and says the place is just behind that rock, but when they get there, the place is completely full of people who want spirit beasts. Suddenly a hamster appears and one of the people shouts that a hamster has appeared. Everyone quickly turns around and runs to catch the hamster. Chen Shi, Guling, Ling Xiu, and Tong are dumbfounded by what is happening there. Tong asks Ling Xiu if that was the secret and deserted place he had talked about.
If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and like the video. Thank you.